Hi, thank you for joining us. With us today is Arjun Menon, the customer success leader at Salesforce. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Ben. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I really appreciate you taking some time off of your hectic work schedule to spend it with me. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and how you got to where you are?
Sure, Ben. I'm a customer success leader at Salesforce. I manage a team of very talented customer success managers catering to business in UK and Ireland. I started off as a developer, a Java developer, at a time when customer success was not even an established function. Did IT pre-sales for some time, delved into account management for quite some time, and then found my way through customer success after many stints within the IT and tech industry. I've worked in 4 countries, which has given me a plethora of experience working with different cultures that I really value and treasure. One theme that has always been there in the last 15 odd years in my career has been my passion for ensuring that my customers are getting the best experience and the utmost value. And that is how I found my place in customer success after doing multiple roles through these years.
hmm That's really awesome. And your path, I looked at your LinkedIn to success, is really great. You even got a little bit of music mixed into there. With all of this great experience, what advice would you give to somebody the first 100 days of leading a CS team?
So, my take is there are 3 areas that any CS lead or a CS head needs to look at. Number one is you need to know your product. Um, you need to understand what your product really does, how it impacts your customer, and understand the customer experience as a person who plays around with your product, because that is the fundamental place where you'd want to get started so that you know what your customers are experiencing in general. The second one is to know your people. You've got a team that is executing something, right? When you are stepping into the shoes of a new team, it's important to understand what your team is delivering, how are they being measured more than anything else, and what are the kind of experiences they are delivering to your customers. And the third one I would say is to know your customers ultimately. Your customers are the backbone of your business, right? Because they are the folks who are actually using your product. They're going to be giving you feedback that is so valuable to change things in your organization. So it's important to understand your customers better and sometimes even spend some time with your top customers or your strategic customers to understand their challenges that they face on a daily basis and understand how your product is actually solving those challenges. Because once you understand how your customers are, number one, using your product and engaging with your teams, you get a sense of what you can do better with them. And if you're spending time with strategic customers to do these kind of activities, you're actually kind of setting up for success, right? And ensuring that you are able to secure renewals with them, for example, or even have further um, uh, increase the kind of the way you would engage with the customer to move them from just being a customer to an advocate for your product at the end of it.
That
So
makes a ton
yes, I
of
think it's
sense.
about
Yeah.
knowing your product, knowing your people, and knowing your customers. I would go with that theme in general as what you would do in your first 100 days as a CS leader.
I think that's really great advice. Now that you're past your first 100 days, what does your current strategy focus on?
So you're going to have customers in different states of the life cycle, right? Like you'll have some people who are have really onboarded with your product and they're actually delivering and getting a lot of value with your product. In some cases, it's going to be new customers who've just started their journey with your product. So I think the first step would be to identify where your customers are on their journey is number one, and ensuring that they're getting that smooth onboarding with your product, because that is where the experience starts, right? So that's the first
Mhm.
piece the customers got with your product and your teams. So it's important to have that smooth onboarding experience and to have your customers really enjoy being your customer, right? In the very first instance. The next step is for customers that typically are quite mature with your product. What you would want to do is to ensure your teams are guiding your customers to their goals, right? Now, goals and value can mean very, very different things to different organizations. So, your teams should be able to guide your customers to their goals, because the moment customers see value and they're able to meet their business objectives with your product, it means your product is actually impactful and is helping customers achieve whatever they've set out to achieve with their investment in your product. Um, Finally, irrespective of where your customers are in their life cycle, it's all about driving positive experience, right? So it could be either case management, or it could be, hey, I'd like a new feature in my product, or I would like to pass on some feedback that I don't think people are hearing. I think it's important to drive positive experiences to show that you as an organization are listening out to your customers, and you've got a place for them in your organization to ensure that you're listening to them and then doing something about it, right? So they know that we are invested in their success with your product.
Mhm. That makes really a ton of sense. And with that really great strategy, I feel like it's really overarching. How do you measure the success of it?
So there are multiple standard metrics that customer success teams use to measure success. Um, what I don't like typically is customer success metrics typically revolve around churn and attrition, which is important to our business. But
Hmm.
I think it's important to take a step back, right? It's important to define what success is when we start this journey. Um, it's about focusing on the outcomes and the impact that you're looking to create. This could just mean right experiences and impact that makes your customer, like I said earlier, move from being just your customer, but actually being an advocate for you. And I think that is true success for any
Hmm.
organization. So we can always spend time around attrition, churn, retention, and all the standard metrics that we've got, right? But at some point of time, it's all about value narration, value creation with your customer, and then converting them from just being a customer to an advocate of yours. And that is where true success lies. And that is what, and sometimes hard to measure, right? But then
Hmm.
it's
Absolutely.
it's what you would want to get to at some point of time.
Yeah. Did you say value narration and value creation? Is that what you just said? I
That's right.
love that. I haven't heard that before. Narration. I like that. That's a really great way to look at it. Oh, wow. So that sounds well and good, right? But there's got to be some issues. What kind of pain points do you have when you're running a CST?
Um, I think one challenge that keeps coming up is change, right? It's very hard to navigate change. And unfortunately, we as humans don't like change. It's in our
Hmm.
DNA to oppose change, right? But change is always constant, and it is also disruptive. Um, you can't control change, and but then you can try to control the controllables that help you embrace that change. So I believe leading change is a constant challenge when you lead a CS team. Um, I don't know if you've come across the ADKA framework, Ben, which talks a lot about change management.
Hmm.
It reinforces the fact that people need to have awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and you need to reinforce these ideas to them for them to actually become agents of change in your organization.
Hmm.
Now, you're always going to have people on different levels of the ADKAR model when they're trying to navigate through change. Getting them all onto a same level, right, is what
Hmm.
makes my role extremely interesting. And I think that's it's a pain point, but it's also a great challenge to have, right? Um, when I was speaking about change, right, I think I remember a quote that I read a few years ago, which is around I think it was by Socrates or someone like that, which said the secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but
Hmm.
building the new, right? And it's all about
Hmm.
building the new that we have got in our world, because tech is always changing, tech is very disruptive, but you need to not just try to stay afloat, but you need to be swimming the channel, right? So uh, it's important to not only manage change, but then to lead change and have your team to be agents of change in your organization.
Absolutely. I believe there's the Seven Habits of Highly Successful People. I don't know if it's that book, but another book. One of the big chapters is Change or Die, right? That's how they start off the whole chapter. Uh,
Absolutely, Tim,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just a key to business. You got to keep up with the Joneses or you'll get left behind. And that is very hard. There's a book, Who Moved My Cheese, right? There's a
Yeah,
whole book about dealing with change and from a
yeah.
management perspective. So I think it's such a problem. People write a ton of books about it, right? I think you nailed it right on the head there. Um, you talked about some pain points you have. Sometimes people say, establishing a partnership with the C-suite and getting buy-in and getting what you need to do your job is difficult. How do you navigate those waters with the C-suite?
So establishing partnerships with the C-suite always is a challenge, right?
Hmm.
Because they have invested in a product. They are going through significant change, right? And not every C-suite stakeholder is, totally bought in onto a new platform or the idea of a new platform. There is going to be resistance, right? Um, Again, another quote comes to my mind, right? Which is, if I'm not wrong, again, I think it's by George Bernard Shaw, uh, who said something like, "Don't wait for an opportunity, create it." Right. So
Okay.
you're not going to have your C-suite typically knocking your door every day, asking for help. Um, my take is to look at the challenge your stakeholder is facing and become a problem solver rather than waiting for a C-suite stakeholder to turn up at your doorstep and ask you how to solve a problem, right? So my take is to always prepare well, be brave, and knock the door of your stakeholder. Um, Everyone, right? We as humans, everyone love the idea of, love ideas that help us achieve more value. So it's important to be that person who becomes proactive and takes an initiative to engage and become a problem solver. Uh, and you can elevate your role from becoming a mere partner to a trusted advisor with the C-suite. So it's easy to always shy away from this and not knock that door, like I said. But then in the end, we only regret the chances we didn't take, right? So it's
Exactly.
important to go for it and build a trust and partnership with C-suite as early as possible, because that's when you're going to have stakeholders who are not only going to be your advocates but your champions, right? To say that, hey, this is the way forward, this is what you need to be doing within their organization.
Hmm. And when you have those conversations with the C-suite, are you metrics? Are you like you're talking about coming to them with a solution to a problem, which I think is a key when working with the C-suite, right? They don't want problems, they want answers. They've got enough
Yeah.
to worry about. So they're like, this was a problem and I fixed it. Here you go. That makes them happy. But is there a way you communicate with them? Is there a way you come into these meetings? I can tell you're going to be very prepared, but is there certain metrics they care about that gets them to buy in? Is it the churn going down? Is it your NRR continuing to grow? What do they really care about at a big company, like Salesforce?
So it is important to understand your business well and understand your customers well. There are multiple metrics, right, that you look for. Like you said, NRR and churn and the works. Um, it's important to have your stories that back all your metrics, because metrics up your numbers, they don't really tell the story, right?
Hmm.
It's important to back whatever you are talking about with metrics. I agree, but it needs to have a story. And without the story, it's very hard to get buy-in from C-suite. So what I would typically recommend is people, do your due diligence, get your metrics out, but always have a story ready for your successes and what even things that are not working well in your organization. Um, because it's important to always display yourself as being one step ahead of what the C-suite typically has got for you, right? So it's important to do your due diligence in advance before engaging with C-suite in general.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it right on the head there. And you dove right into my next question, which I love. Do you have an example of a story you've used from like customer feedback to improve your company?
Um, yeah, absolutely. Feedback is a gift, right? And it's one of the most important tools to improve the service you offer your customers. Um, in my previous company, we actually designed a system for our customer based on the business requirements that they had shared. And we realized that the system was by far it was amazing, right? It was really, it had great performance. It had all the features people wanted. Um, but we ended up seeing that the adoption rates for the product, right, were very, very low. And it was quite appalling because we believed we built a Ferrari, but nobody was using it, right? And it was interesting because it spoke a lot about building a product that people really didn't want, right?
Right.
So senior stakeholders at the customer's organization felt that this is the way to do it, and we did it. But then the people on ground who actually wanted the product, right, or the solution, realize that that is what they don't want, right?
Mhm.
So it's very important to get your users engaged. And when I say users, get their feedback as well, right? At everything you do in your organization. It could be as simple as moving a menu bar from here to here or whatever,
Mhm.
right? It is important to get feedback because many times you'd realize that some people utilize a feature for a specific reason that you may have never thought of. And it gives them so much value because of the way your product is built. So it is important to engage with stakeholders even when you make minor changes in your product, because it really helps define the roadmap of your product, number one. And number two, you also end up with customers who are really satisfied with your product, right? Because they know that their voice is heard. But there's also a challenge to it, right? I mean, a lot of democracy is also quite hard to contain when you're trying to productize a particular functionality. So it's about looking at the merit of the feedback that comes in as well, and ensuring that what you put out in production is of high quality and value for your majority customer stakeholders. So yeah, so I think there are multiple examples around collecting feedback and implementing them. But I think, like I said a few seconds earlier, feedback is a gift, and you cannot survive without feedback to improve your product and the quality of what you deliver via your product.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to have a lot of customers to have a lot of feedback, right? So you're absolutely right. Feedback is
Absolutely.
to get. If you got feedback, you're doing something right. I'm going to shift gears a little bit on this one. What do you think is the future of CS?
Historically, the future of CS has been focused more around preventing churn, um, and ensuring that you are retaining your customers in general, right? That is how it has been for over a decade. The way I look at it is, number one, it's going to be around shifting from focus on churn to creating more loyal advocates for your product. Because if you've got a customer base that is well invested in your product and are speaking accolades about your product, the chances of churn or attrition is going to be close to zero,
Mhm.
right? So the shift will be about, like I said earlier, value narration and creation to ensure that your customer is able to articulate value and that they're able to demonstrate business outcomes uh, with them using your product. And that's the only way to create loyal advocates for your product. So that would be a shift in the mindset of a CS leader.
Very.
But of course, it also comes with a lot of innovative disruption that has come in the industry with AI and all the automation, right? So scaling customer success has been always a challenge in the industry. Customer success managers tend to be focused on high AOV band customers, uh, while the lower AOV band customers don't get as much attention as any customer would want. I mean, any company would
What does
want.
AOB mean?
So it essentially is the amount a customer spends on your organization.
Okay, so like book of
Yeah,
business, average
book
book of
of
business.
business. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, if you want the expansion, it's the average order value. But then
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Yeah, that'd be great.
So
We throw away these acronyms, and sometimes I'm sure the audience has no idea what they are. So I like to center them sometimes.
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And many times you get caught into calls where there are 500 new acronyms that come out, and
Yeah, and I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa.
you
I
just
got my trying to Google something over here while I'm trying to listen. Yeah. So I appreciate
yeah,
you defining that for us.
no worries. So uh, scaling customer success has always been a challenge historically. So, with the advent of generative AI and a lot of automation capabilities, I think that helps CS in general, because now you tend to focus on personalization for customers that spend lower in your organization. And I think that's a trend that we're going to see a lot in the
Hmm.
next 6 to 8 months. Um, Again, I spoke about metrics, about how we are moving from just preventing churn to now having more loyal advocates. I spoke about tech being a disruptor, but I think there's also a shift in mindset that is required, right? Uh, Customer success is a company-wide responsibility, and it's not the responsibility of one team, right? So whether you're a sales team or a support team, or you are a solution engineer, I think customer success is part of the game and part of what you will want to do with your customer. So that shift in mindset is something that is going to become more apparent as we move forward, because every role you are a customer success manager, irrespective of your title, right? That is something that I would see happening as we move forward. You see.
That makes a ton of sense. Well, I'm gonna get you out of here with this question. What else should we know about you, and how do we follow your career?
Um, I followed a very different career path earlier in life. I trained to become a musician, and I was an active musician, and I still do a lot of concerts right now. But I think the reason I brought this up is that uh, when I was a child, I never thought customer success is something that I want to do or I would do. Right, like I said earlier, the industry was not even there, or that the function was not there at that time. Uh, but I think it's important to recognize recognize that things change in the world. You'll find new jobs turn up that you'll end up liking. There are a lot of skills that you never know you will possess, but then you tend to possess them as later in life, and you also do quite well in them, right? So um, it's something that I discovered as I went through my career, and that's how I ended up in customer success. So, if there's one thing you would like to know about me, I think it's about recognizing the fact that um, people can have multiple different career paths in life. But then, as long as you're customer focused and you are looking at customer outcomes, customer success is where you'd end up at some point of time uh, in any form, irrespective of your title. Right?
Hmm.
You are doing customer success to help your customers succeed.
That makes a ton of sense. How do we connect with you?
Um, I'm quite active on LinkedIn. I'm only a DM away, so go for it. Just ping me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to have a conversation.
Well, great. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today. I really appreciate it.